Get ready to uncover how schools manipulate students' thoughts, stifle their potential, and how politicians steal money and the future of America from kids. Welcome to the JB Social.
Hello everybody, I want to give you a warm welcome to Operation Anti-Indoctrination. I am your host JB. We're going to be having a great show for you today. Do stay tuned. Got a lot to talk about, a lot of stuff that's happened. It's been an interesting week for me, I gotta say. Week of homeschooling, that's been pretty cool. It's been a whole lot better than public school, I can tell you that much. And I'm not really doing proper homeschooling anyway, but it's pretty good. Whole lot going on, whole lot of education news. We're going to be getting into a lot of that. We're going to be getting into one of the most important bits of educational history ever, though. History that every parent should know, but almost never do. It is the MAFIA-like group that created the public school system today. Public school was created by a mafia-esque group, which had neither your children's best interests at heart, nor your country's best interests at heart, only their own power. That's all they cared about, but that's all. That'll all be gotten to a little later on, because we got some stories to get to here. Let's see this. So, with virtual learning, of course, is going to come some interesting stuff that's happening here. Some really interesting stuff that is a little ridiculous and a little funny. I don't know if I'd put it like that, but we have a story here from a news site literally called Not the Bee. I don't know if you get that, but the Babylon Bee is a parody, you know. It's a parody fake news network, and this is Not the Bee. This organization is called Not the Bee, but it's stuff that seems ridiculous. This latest story is, quote, "School calls cops, suspends 12-year-old for briefly flashing a neon green toy gun during online class." Oh boy. So, yeah. The school has suspended a 12-year-old student, 12 years old, not an 18-year-old, for briefly, supposedly, allegedly flashing a neon toy gun during online learning. The teacher, when he or she saw this, alerted the cops. This administrator and the teacher call the cops on a family because their 12-year-old flashed a toy gun during virtual learning. That's the story. That's the recent story. That's what's happening. And now this kid is suspended because, you know what? Why the heck not? Why not, right? Why not? We just, just do it, right? Just suspend it, flash a toy gun. You're not allowed to do this. And I don't think this is the first time this has happened. And I remember a story, I don't know if I could search it up now, but I remember a story where some kid was suspended for having physical guns, but, legal physical guns behind him during virtual learning. Could have been his dad's, could have been his, and he might have been like 18 or something, but you can get suspended for all sorts of stuff. And then we've all heard about the stories of kids getting suspended for, chewing their Pop-Tart into a gun and all that garbage. But school, they're very terrified of guns for some reason. They really don't like guns at all. But, yeah, that's a fun story. I'm not sure interesting would be the right way to describe it, but it's certainly representative of the school system, and this is what they'll do to you, because they have such an aversion to all this. They have any aversion to anything that could go against their little narrative. Ugh. This school, it's just the system is so corrupt to its core that it's no surprise stuff like this happens. It's no surprise. It should come as, basically, it should come to be expected, really. That's all I can say about that. All right. The Trump administration has directed the Department of Education to stop all anti-American propaganda, as they say, because they are concerned about non-patriotic education. Now, this is obviously a problem, right? And what they are against, let's see here. So they are saying that we need to stop teaching in the Department of Education, in federal agencies, and I guess in schools too, Stop teaching, let's see here, critical race theory / white privilege and any other training or propaganda effort that teaches or suggests that the United States is an inherently racist or evil country, or that any race or ethnicity is inherently racist or evil. Unquote. Yeah, that doesn't seem like, I mean, look, I'm not going to pretend that racism isn't a problem, no matter how large or small it may be. But at the same time, this is getting a little ridiculous, saying that, and this is what they're saying, that the United States is inherently racist or evil. That's the whole 1619 Project, or that any race or ethnicity is inherently evil. I think we know which one they would say that about. But this is from Education Week. Now, they don't put a very positive spin on this whole story, but it's interesting that this is happening, where we're seeing a crackdown on what they would call unpatriotic, anti-American education, where the kids and the teachers and the administrators are being indoctrinated themselves into believing this, and we are against indoctrination. That's why we are Operation Anti-Indoctrination, because we need to stop it. There's too much of it in the schools, in the media, all that stuff. So that's interesting, because it's interesting that somebody actually realizes this. I don't know if Trump's doing this or someone in his administration, but we'll see how it goes. We'll see how this goes. Who knows how this is going to go, really. Moving on. So I wanted to really just warn all you parents out there about what the schools are doing, how they are literal socialist, communist propaganda centers, because this has been done subtly. This has been masterminded over decades, and we know that they want to take control of the schools. What's the first thing that authoritarians always do? They take control of the schools. You can go to any country, anywhere, at any time. If there were schools, the government took control of it to indoctrinate with their propaganda. That's what these communists want to do. And I want to read you an excerpt that was pointed out by the American Citadel, where it was from a book called The Naked Communist, very famous book by Cleon Skosin, where he compiles a list of communist goals regarding American schools. He says, quote, this is referring to what the communists need to do, quote, get control of the schools. Use them as transmission belts for socialism and current communist propaganda. Soften the curriculum. Get control of teachers' associations. Put the party line in textbooks. Gain control of all student newspapers. Use student riots to foment public protests against programs or organizations which are under communist attack. Yeah, that's about right, unquote. That's about right. That's what they've done. The communists have gotten control of the schools. These totalitarian communists who want socialism, and I've gotten it. I've gotten really borderline Maoist propaganda. I have a thing on my wall a few feet away from me, which is literally an article we had to read, which basically makes the Great Leap Forward one of the biggest, if not the biggest, tragedies in human history. Killed tens of millions of Chinese people. Makes it look like a thumping success. Makes it look perfect. Couldn't have done it better. Great Leap Forward. This is deranged. The Great Leap Forward was you can't imagine how terrible it was. I mean, this is insane. But we were taught basically Maoist propaganda. Maoist, where this whole collective ownership, farmers, collective harvests, all that stuff is a good thing. Basically, it makes it so your country is stronger, more powerful, can do anything. And that's what we've got. That's what we've gotten. It's been completely one-sided. It's been literal Maoism. I mean, I don't know how much. I don't think it gets a whole lot more extreme than that. And a lot of this other stuff rings true. Get control of the textbooks. Put the party line in textbooks. Well, you need only look at books like A People's History of the United States by Howard Zinn, which are total communist propaganda. And you need only look at organizations or textbook companies, I should say, like Pearson, which have literally, they made Common Core, this socialist scheme. Pearson has been thoroughly controlled by the socialists. This guy also says, get control of the unions, get control of the teachers' associations. We know they've done that. We know the NEA was transferred in the early 20th century from a debating club to a progressive behemoth, which was bent on basically just instituting their propaganda into schools, working with people like John Dewey to get this. We know this. We know this to be true. Use student riots to foment public protests. That's happening kind of right now. So this is all happening. The communists, I don't know if we realize it or not. I don't know if anyone realizes this, but they have gotten control of the schools. They control it all. And schools are now made to produce, A, scientifically, and B, with indoctrination, little communists. With their teaching methods, with their ideology, with everything. They want to turn the kids into communists because, that's what they do. They want the utopia. It's all about the utopia. Never forget that. It's all about the utopia, which is not possible, has never been possible, and for the foreseeable future will never be possible. The utopia where everything is perfect, short week days, short week hours, short beautiful cities, pensions, short working. You're not working much in your life. That's all the ideas. That's everything. That's their complete government control. That's their idea. That's the idea. A total utopia. A total fundamental transformation of every single society in the world for a secular utopia where supposedly we're all going to be happy. That's what they want. That's all they want. And never let anyone tell you otherwise, because it's completely obvious when you actually read their stuff, as I have, and look at what they're doing. All right. What I'm about to say, every parent should know this, what I'm about to tell you, because this is so unbelievably important. What happened in our school system, which made it the way it is now. The MAFIA-like organization that made our school system, that made it so that the kids are indoctrinated with this progressive communist propaganda. They're taught in this progressive way. They're taught using psychology to make them literally dumber. Literally make them dumber, make them into animals that must be tamed, make them to be treated like lab rats, which have to be broken and then made into whatever the school wants. Literally, this is why. Because you had a mafia-like organization, which I'm about to tell you about, which ran education. Don't miss this. Ran education. And they controlled the administrative jobs. They controlled they had members from all these elite private universities, University of Chicago, Columbia Teachers College, Wesleyan University, etc. You had members of the Carnegie Corporation, of the Rockefeller Foundation, the members of the NEA. All these people which conspired secretly to change education, to change it into their idea in order to create their utopia. Again, it's all about the utopia. It's always been all about their utopia. So let's get into this. All right. In 1915, an organization called the Educational Trust was created. The purpose of this was to control the jobs, conspire to destroy American education. It was widely talked about, by the way. It was sort of an open conspiracy, you could say. But if you go back to newspapers, it was openly talked about. Everyone knew about it. They just didn't know what exactly was happening. Now, the first meeting was in Cleveland, which has led some to call it the Cleveland Conference, but it was the Educational Trust, which was a mafia-like group filled with these socialists, these progressives, these Rockefeller and Carnegie acolytes, these NEA members of Clark University, members of the University of Chicago, members of Wesleyan University, Columbia Teachers College, all these universities which were conspiring to make education into some progressive machine, which was going to create a utopia. This is the purpose of education. Now, I'm going to quote from Samuel Blumenfeld in his fantastic book, NEA, Trojan Horse in American Education, because he breaks this down very well. He talks about the members of this club. He says, quote, "This exclusive club began with 19 members, including many graduates of Columbia Teachers College. Among others were James R. Agnell, a colleague of Dewey at the University of Chicago who became president of Yale, Agnell had gotten his master's under William James at Harvard and his PhD at Leipzig, and was president of the American Psychological Association and later became a trustee of the Rockefeller Foundation. Leonard Ayres, director of the Russell Sage Foundation. Abraham Flexner, director of the Rockefeller Institute. Paul Haynes, who set up Harvard's Graduate School of Education with the help of Rockefeller's General Education Board. Paul Monroe, director of Columbia's School of Education and later president of the World Federation of Education Associates, and Edward L. Thorndike, unquote. These were the guys that created this modern education. They created the Educational Trust, which conspired to take control of administrative jobs in order to indoctrinate kids for their utopia. You have members of the Carnegie and Rockefeller associations, which were literally globalists. They wanted a one world government for world peace where they would control everything. Carnegie wanted America and Great Britain to reunite in order to have world peace and this great utopia where they would rule the world. The Anglo-American establishment is what he wanted. I'm going to quote again from Samuel Blumenfeld's book, because he gives a list of other members. Quote, among the alumni were Elwood P. Cubberley, George D. Strayer, George H. Betts, Edward C. Elliott, Walter A. Jessup, William H. Kilpatrick, Bruce R. Payne, David S. Sneddon, Lotus T. Kaufman. Cubberley became Dean of the School of Education at Stanford, Strayer, Professor at Teachers College and President of the NEA, Betts, Professor of Education at Northwestern, Elliott, President of Purdue, Jessup, President of the University of Iowa and President of the Carnegie Foundation for the Advancement of Teaching, Kilpatrick, Professor at Teachers College and founder of Bennington College, Payne, President of the George Peabody College in Nashville, Sneddon, Massachusetts State Commissioner of Education, Kaufman, Dean of College of Education at the University of Minnesota, and later the university's president, unquote. These were all members of the Educational Trust. All these people I just mentioned were members of these elite academic men who were conspiring in Cleveland at first to radically change education. Again, members of the Carnegie Corporation, the Rockefeller Foundations, you have members of the NEA, all these people, members of these elite colleges that I just mentioned, and were conspiring with their new psychology, which would radically change education, produce disorders like dyslexia and ADHD, scientifically produce it. All these members which wanted to radically change our society in order for the utopia, and that is the purpose of schooling. That is the purpose, the utopia, the great utopia where everything is equal. We're all supposedly going to be happy. If you want to learn more, you can read the book Looking Backward by Edward Bellamy. His fan fiction is basically what these guys wanted, where everything would be perfect. And I really, people need to wake up to this. That's the thing. People, we hear about all these conspiracy theories where they're all crazy, but everyone is saying that nothing is as it seems. The thing is, they're right. They're just not looking in the right places. There's all sorts of crazy conspiracy theories, but because people know that something is not right in our society today. Everyone knows it. You know it. I know it. We all know that something is not right, but we're not looking in the right places. The right place to look is the institution of schooling, of the members that created this elite educational establishment, which today is basically the continuation of it is running our country. Education is running our country, and in many ways, unfortunately, it runs our economy, because I think our economy has developed into one that cannot, in the way it is now, survive if people were to have independent thoughts, if people were to chart their own courses, if most people were to do this. I think we'd have to do a serious rethinking of the very nature of our economy, unfortunately. Because our schooling just has such a firm grip on us today. Such a firm grip on our society, such a firm grip on our youth, such a firm grip on our country, that something has to change. And otherwise, we're just going to go further down this road to destruction that we're on right now. Destruction, where our country's going to go up and it's going to go up in smoke. And you see this with the division we have right now, with this seemingly imminent civil war. God forbid, but It's looking like it's on the horizon. I don't know what the 1850s felt like, but this sure feels like what it would have felt like. This is... And it's all from the school system. People have to wake up from this. And again, everybody knows that something is not right with our society. Everybody knows it. Everyone knows something is off. Everybody feels like they're being controlled. Nobody feels free anymore. But we're not looking in the right places. That's all I'm saying, is we're not looking in the right places because it's out there. And this isn't a conspiracy theory. These are hard facts that this is verifiable, documented, reported on hard facts. I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I've never considered myself a conspiracy theorist. I don't really like conspiracy theories in general. But this is something else. So I guess that's all I have for today. I guess a little shorter today, but that's all right. Hope you're having a good Tuesday. That was kind of fun to record. I don't know how I did, but hopefully we can wake some people up, and hopefully if you share this show, if we can transition a little bit here, if you share this show, we can get the word out about this. That'd be really nice. I'd really appreciate that. We'd all really appreciate that here. If you would like to have some book recommendations, you can email me, jvsoulshow@gmail.com, if you want to learn more, because that's what I really want to hear, because I don't know everything about this. I've done a lot of research, yes, but I don't know everything about this, so why don't you do some research for yourself? Why don't you start questioning education and the institution of schooling? Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong about lots of stuff about the institution of schooling. Find out more. Find out more than I know. Do your own research. Do your due diligence. Chart your own course, Escape from schooling. That's all I can say. Alrighty, if you're on YouTube, I would really appreciate a subscribe and a like on the video. You can also leave a comment. Follow us on social media down below in the description. And until next time, I've been your host, JB. Have a great rest of your day, and goodbye.